Okay, so hello, this is Edward Bevilacqua. This is part two of the fourth week introduction video. And the previous part of the week four introduction video, we talked about Stoicism. And then I actually happened to get a call, so everything shut down when I answered the call. But we're going to finish that up. And this is ultimately the most important one. Everything we do builds towards the fourth week, and everything in the fourth week builds to the last one. The last one in the fourth week is about Ignatius of Loyola, which I'll talk to in a second. But Stoicism can roughly, for our purposes, be summarized as moral virtue is enough. Moral virtue is enough. So when you're deciding whether your planned course of behavior, the things to get you power, what you're going to do with your power, a guiding light for principle would be moral virtue is enough. And if what you're doing is morally virtuous, then it's okay. It's justifiable. And so what does that mean? Well, moral virtue is enough means you do the right thing at the right time, in the right way, for the right reason. That's moral virtue, doing the right thing at the right time, in the right way, for the right reason. And it's not really hard to figure out what is the right thing. A lot of people think it's hard to figure out what the right thing is. But by now you should know that if you ask your brain a question, what is the right thing, you're going to get an answer. It's just that you have learned that we don't usually ask our brain questions. We make conclusionary statements. We say, here's this. We look at some facts and we come to a conclusion. We don't ask our brain the question, what is the right thing to do right now? And it's not usually, the hard part isn't usually knowing what the hard thing is, what the right thing is. It's usually being willing to do it. But that's called having the courage of your convictions. And that's very important. So doing the right, so fundamentally Stoicism, doing the right thing, moral virtue is enough. Doing the right thing at the right time, in the right way, for the right reason. Now there's a whole bunch more that goes along with that, which you will learn in the first 3 days of class. But I think ultimately you'll see that it comes down to doing the right thing. It's just other tools and techniques to help you know that. And the first one, our first premise of Stoicism is to understand that there are things I can control and things I can't control. And I don't let the things I can't control bother me because I can't control them. And if you just do that, if you just start with that, eliminate all of the angst that you have or upset regarding things you can't control, your life is automatically going to be oriented in a better direction, which then goes back to priming your reticular activation system to stop all negative self-talk. To stop all negative self-talk. Stop saying anything negative to yourself. Just stop doing that. Because those thoughts, negative thoughts, mean there's a belief underneath that supports that negative thought. And that's in your reticular activation system, which will be programmed to make you, to trigger the release of neurotransmitters anytime one of those beliefs come up. So there's a lot to Stoicism. These are things to write down on our Apprentice program. Every day you have a 5 to 10 minute writing assignment where there's a Stoic belief and you need to write in it in 3 ways. What does it literally say? Number 2 is what does it mean? And then number 3 would be how you would incorporate that into your life. In other words, how you could build a belief around that. And we call those maxims. Those things we call maxims. Maxim is a moral rule. And what you want to do is you want to live by proper moral rules. We all live by moral rules. We want to identify them and create good moral rules, and we want to take those moral rules and we want to turn them into habits. A habit is unconscious behavior. So if we turn our moral rules into habits, we'll start doing them automatically. And if we have good maxims, good moral rules, our reticular activation system is going to pull us towards those things. So that's the Stoicism part. The Ignatius of Loyola part is somebody who was born just before Columbus sailed so 1491, died in the mid-1500s. The first about 30 years of his life were spent in a particular way that I think a lot of people in prison could relate to. So somebody who had ego, strong ego, doing shortcuts, sort of a hedonistic maxims guided his life, like to fight, gamble, wager, drink. He's accused of raping one or more women. Not a good guy. Soldier, successful soldier, because he liked doing the things that good soldiers do. Fighting, plunder, not having any qualms about it. And so he was pretty successful at that, and his life was on track in that direction, but for a unintended event, meaning severe injury, which caused just briefly a long convalescence. And during that convalescence, his reticular activation system created some new beliefs. It took some old beliefs and looked at those and found that it wasn't really fulfilling. And then some new beliefs were introduced, which incorporated some of the beliefs from the old beliefs. In other words, being a soldier for Mary, in this case, a highly disciplined person, was something good. And that got him on a path that ultimately ended up with him being in a cave. Probably if he was seeing a psychologist, the psychologist would say, this guy is borderline, this is not appropriate behavior, living in a cave, not taking care of yourself, whipping yourself at night for your sins, not forgiving yourself for those things, kind of spiraling down until ultimately, bam, one day something positive happened. And if we just not look at what happened, but just not look at the truth of what caused it to happen, we just look at the result of what happened. That got him to start clawing his way up, out, to become somewhat zealous, then putting in the time that was necessary to learn the things he needed to learn. In other words, go back to school and to eventually graduate from college, which put him into the sphere of other people who were like-minded in the society of those days. The oldest son took everything. The second son would be a spare. If you're the third or fourth son from a well-off family, your choices become more limited. Maybe you marry a daughter who doesn't have a brother who's going to inherit. Maybe you become a priest. Merchant was kind of low on the totem pole, so Ignatius happened to run into a couple guys that had similar backgrounds to him. He told them his story, so now we could relate back to Seth Godin. What's the status quo? Tell a compelling story. He told them a compelling story. Who's with me? They said, we're with you. They brought in 7 other guys immediately. Things started happening good. More and more people came in. And so the point is, if this guy could do it, if Ignatius of Loyola could do what he did, which has really changed the world, and it's still changing the world, and it's it's the largest educational system around the world. If he could do that, if he could start something that did that, we can all do something. And that's how we end the 4-week program. And I invite you to, once we get you on your interviews and you get your foundational employment, we really invite you to go to stage 2, the Journeyman Program, because education is the thing that's going to keep you moving forward. You need to learn new skills. And our Journeyman Program does that. It's only 90 days. Housing is included. Housing is included. So you have housing, you continue your counseling, you continue your education, and you have employment heading towards your career employment. And the education is mainly doing the Journeyman Program, which is primarily comprised of 2 things. One are 8 Coursera courses that have to do with general business, accounting, marketing, sales, HR, finance, etc., and learning Google apps and other Google-related apps that you can use, that are tools that you can use in virtually any business. If you do those things, at the end of the 13 weeks, you will have certificates from 8 top universities, including Yale, Wharton, Northwestern, Penn, University of London. You have certificates from 8 top universities that will tremendously help you in life, but also pragmatically in your job interview. Additionally, you will have learned Google Apps, and you'll have tools and techniques to help your employer become more successful, because the only reason they're going to hire you is you can make them more money. And that's it. So congratulations. Finish this 4th week strong. Do your best. You should have good habits by now. Your typing should be up over 36 words per minute for sure. If it's not, you haven't been working hard enough. You should be prepared for your foundational job, and just end strong. Thank you.